Hey, what is going on, guys? DK. Back at you with another video here to break down the 7-game NBA main slate on Friday. TGIF to everyone out there. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make content for daily fantasy sports, for NBA Top Shot, for prize picks, for NFL all day. If you're unable to watch these videos, I do upload on Apple Podcasts. Link is down below. Premium content if you want more in-depth content for daily fantasy sports. I offer that on patreon.com, linked down below for more information. And guys, the sponsor of this video is Prize Picks. So Prize Picks is a player prop site where a lot of different ways you can play for NBA, taking over under on fancy points, assists, rebounds, points plus assists plus rebounds, 3-pointers made. They have basically every single sport you can think of. They have a ton of contests for the Super Bowl. And you can mix and match sports as well. So you pick 2 to 5 player props and you can win up to 10x your money. So if you guys want to give it a try, you can sign up and use my code DKDFS for a 100% match up to $100. Okay, before we get into the video, real quick, if you guys do enjoy this content, just make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And appreciate everyone who came and checked out the stream once again this afternoon. We're going to be trying to doing those streams every single day where we cover, Top Shot, we cover Draftkings, we cover Prize Picks. It was a good one with the trade deadline. But all right, let's take a look back lineup here from tonight. So once again, it's going to be a really solid night for me. Cash pretty easily in low stakes tournaments, just missed in high stakes. Gary Trent made 63 threes and had like 10 steals. Cash easily in lower stakes tournaments. And I almost took down the showdown too. I was one swap away, one player away from winning it. I had McGee, and the winning lineup had Cam Johnson. But back to my lineup. So, I ate a lot of the Wizards chalk, right? I ate Neto chalk. I ate Kuzma chalk. Now, Denny and Rui were both kind of low owned because they were coming out the bench. But I liked them. I had no real worries with them coming out the bench. They were both really, they both did really well. And then Luka Doncic, can we talk about that first quarter? He had, 28, I think, in the first quarter? Absolutely insane. Finished with 75 fancy points, 51 points overall, 6 assists, and 9 rebounds. Again, right now, Luka has just turned that corner. And then I went to a low-owned Boucher. I was very tilted about his first half minutes. Luckily, kind of got there in the second half, but Toronto, they ended up running like a 10-man rotation, and so tilting. And then, so I originally had Sengun in here, but then we got the news that he wasn't starting. I was debating, I was like, do I want to keep Sengun or do I want to pivot? I ended up pivoting to Crowder, who was fine in a blowout, went for 24 fancy points. But that was the look back there. As far as the winning lineup and high stakes, so pretty similar build. Kyrie, Neto, KCP, Kuz, Bryant, Gary Trent Jr., again, who just went absolutely off, Rui, and Luka Doncic. So hope you guys had a good night. And let's start with make some money on the 7-gamer. So start off the Charlotte Hornets side, who again made a trade. No more Ish Smith. They do have Montrez coming in. There's a lot of teams who we don't know if some players are going to be available or not. So obviously we'll keep an eye on that news. But for the Charlotte Hornets, they still ran a very tight rotation last game. So the main guys, I think, all look pretty good. LaMelo Ball, 9K. He should play around 40 minutes if the game is competitive. He's the guy that probably has the most upside. Bridges and Rozier, I'm thinking we get around 40 minutes from each of these guys. They both have a ceiling. I think Kelly Oubre is probably the easiest guy to get to since he has shooting guard and small forward eligibility, and he's going to play probably close to 40 minutes. So I think he looks like a pretty safe play in the mid-range. Mason Plumlee, a little revenge game narrative if you're into that, probably plays 25 to 30 minutes. He's a fair option. And then PJ Washington saw big minutes on the bench. He was a little bit disappointing, but 34 minutes, that's good to see. So the main guys here for the Hornets all look really, really good. Again, we'll keep an eye to see if Montrez is going to be available. And then, they traded away Ish Smith. We saw Nick Richards in the rotation. I expect him to be in the rotation once again. Probably see somewhere around 10 to 15 minutes. And my guess is they had one more body in the rotation, but I don't know who, and I don't think they're going to play enough minutes for it to matter. All right, on the Detroit side, so Cade Cunningham once again did not play. We'll see about his status for this one. If he's out, I think the guy that looks the best for tournaments is probably Hamidou Diallo. He had a pretty big game tonight, and he has like shown when the minutes are there, this guy can produce. Also like the matchup, so I think Diallo looks good. Between the two wings and Bey and Grant, I lean Sadiq Bey. He's just been a little bit more productive of late, and he's also getting more minutes. So I think I lean Bey over Grant if I had to pick. Stewart got in severe foul trouble early on in this game. I think he's a fair play. Probably plays around 30 minutes if he can stay out of foul trouble. And then Olynyk is probably playing the backup 5 at 4K. Again, I think he's in play for GPPs. We did see them dust off Luka Garza and give him some run. So if they're going to run 3 centers, that's a little bit concerning, right? And then as far as the guards go, so like Corey Joseph, there's no Cade Cunningham, is probably my favorite cheap guard outside of, Diallo. I would assume we get around 30 minutes from him. And like I said, it's an up-tempo game. But there's some blowout risk. I mean, this Pistons team is just awful right now. So I'm going to Cleveland and Indiana. So Karis LeVert, 8.6K, too expensive for me coming off the bench. Now keep an eye on Darius Garland news. So last game we got news is minutes, the dreaded minutes monitored quote. He played 30 minutes, so that's not great, 30 minutes. But if we get no limitations on Garland and back up to like 35 plus, I think he is too cheap in this spot. As far as the bigs go, like I have interest in all three in Allen, Love, and Mobley. I don't know if there's one that stands out more than the other. Like all three have flashed upside. And I would say if this game stays competitive, probably one of those guys is going to have a big game. But it's a little bit hard right now to try to nail down who it's going to be, right? It was a couple games ago, you had a few big games from Jared Allen. We went on that like week-long stretch where Kevin Love was averaging like 40-plus fantasy points. It was Evan Mobley last game who went for 41, right? So like I have interest in all three of the bigs, but it's a little bit difficult right now trying to predict who it's going to be. As far as the value goes, not much. I mean, Rondo plays, he still got some decent run. He played 22 minutes last game. I guess he would probably be the value guy to consider, but he's not super cheap, so I don't think we have to go there. And on the Pacer side here, there's a lot of question marks. So looks like Halliburton is going to be available as well as Buddy Hield. Question marks of like, all right, what's the playing time going to be? Are there any limitations to these new guys? So yeah, there's some question marks, but like Halliburton, Duarte, I would guess these are going to be the two high usage guys, kind of running the show. I'm assuming both start, but we also have Malcolm Brogdon's status up in the air. He's questionable. If he's available, I don't know what that's going to do to the starting lineup, right? So there's just so many question marks. We don't know if Isaiah Jackson's going to play. I will say the guy that probably, there's not many question marks with is Goga Bitadze. Like he's going to start and probably play, if he stays out of foul trouble, around 30 minutes. So I like Goga. I would assume Buddy Hield's probably in the starting lineup too. Like if Brogdon's out, I think it's going to be Halliburton at the point, Duarte at the 2, Buddy Hield at the 3, Brissett at the 4, and Goga at the 5. That's what I think starts. So if like that's the case, and like a guy like O'Shea Brissett at 3.7 is going to be in play for value. We obviously saw the massive game from Lance Stevenson in the starting lineup, but I would guess he moves back to the bench and becomes just a GPP only play. But like I said, we also have Tristan Thompson, who looks like he's going to be available. A lot of question marks for the Pacers. So again, starting lineup's going to be key there. Moving on to the Thunder and the Philadelphia 76ers. So again, for some reason, they're keeping 19-year-old Josh Giddey on a minutes limit. No injuries. Just your 19-year-old rookie. Let's just put him on a minutes limit. What are we doing here? So if he's going to play 30 minutes, again, I don't think I can get to Giddey. Dort at 6.3 in play for GPPs. As far as the value goes here, Bazley's been playing huge minutes. He's 5.8K. If the game stays competitive, I would assume we get over 30 minutes from him. Trey Mann, also a guy that should play big minutes but scoring dependent. Now, we finally saw some pretty solid run for Kenneth Williams. I guess 31 back-to-back games. And again, when the minutes are there for him, he's going to produce. So, like, I like Kenrich for value because he's just a guy that he does not have to score the ball to get fantasy points. Right? He can do it in a lot of different ways. They released Diakite, right? So this is interesting here, right? Because, all right, who is going to, like, they're going up against Joel Embiid. So they limited Derek Favors' minutes last game because, I mean, they kind of could against Toronto. Toronto's more of a small ball team. Do we think they can go small against Joel Embiid? I would say probably not. So I think Favors probably plays at least 25 minutes. I don't know who else they're going to throw on Embiid, right? Like an undersized Darius Bazley, Pokashevsky, who's like 6'10", but weighs like 100 pounds, right? Like, I don't know what they're going to do. So I think Favors is actually an interesting value play because I just don't know what other options they're going to have to throw on Joel Embiid. I'm moving on to Philadelphia. So as I said, with the question marks and who's going to guard Embiid, I mean, Embiid's just in a smash spot. So if the game can stay competitive, he looks really good. Tobias 8-3 looks fine. Now there's some question marks here, right? Is Harden going to be available? Maxi's questionable and Shake Milton's questionable. Drummond, Seth Curry, Ben Simmons all traded away. So it's like another team. All right, well, let's just say that Maxey, Milton, and Harden all don't play. Well, then what I think happens to the starting lineup, we're going to get Embiid obviously at the 5, Tobias at the 4. I would guess we probably get Point Korkmaz. If that's the case, he's going to look really good. Like, I think Korkmaz would probably start at the 1, Thibault the 3, and Danny Green in the 2. That's my guess for the starting lineup if these questionable guys don't play. So, yeah, the value's going to look good. And then, like, a guy like Niang off the bench would probably play big minutes. He's going to look pretty good if all those questionable guys can't play. So, another team where we're just going to have to wait for news, right? It's a little bit hard to break down right now. But let's move on to Denver and Boston. So, on the Denver side, we do have Monte Morris out, so we'll get to that. But yeah, Nikola Jokic at 12-4. I don't know if he gets a ton of ownership. I mean, Denver's been involved in a lot of blowouts of late, but I think if you have the salary, is definitely a good option. Will Barton at 6.4 probably sees mid-30s minutes. I have no issue paying 6.4 for him. Gordon at 5.6, again, is fine. Should play big minutes as well. Now, for who starts for Monte Morris, I would guess that it is Bones Highland. And if that's the case at 3.8K, I think he's going to make for a pretty good value play. Would assume we probably get around 30 minutes if he starts. So, yeah, I'm going to like Bones if he starts. They could go to Campazzo. They could do a lot of different things. I mean, Austin Rivers is a guy that if he is available to play, which he should be, like he can play minutes. We saw Bryn Forbes enter the rotation. He got a little bit of run. We have Boogie that's going to play the backup 5. But I think the starting lineup's going to be pretty important here. I think whoever starts at the point is the guy I'm going to feel the best about. On the Boston side, so Boston made a couple good moves, in my opinion, on the trade deadline. They got rid of Schroeder, they got rid of Josh Richardson, but they got back Derek White. He's a solid defender, just solid overall NBA player, and Daniel Tice, a good defensive big. So I think Boston made a couple of good moves for the trade deadline. But as far as the DFS slate goes, Tatum and Brown, I think they're fine contrarian spend-ups. Robert Williams going up against Jokic does not really stand out to me. Horford at 5.7 probably sees around 30 minutes. I guess he's a fair play in the mid-range. Marcus Smart without Dennis Schroeder. Again, if Derek White's not available, he probably sees low 30s minutes as a fair play in the mid-range. And then if Derek White can't play, we might see like Peyton Pritchard in the rotation. They also got rid of Ennis Freedom, but that doesn't really matter. You'll probably see some minutes for Grant Williams, but I don't know if we have to go there either. All right, San Antonio and Atlanta. So this is a game where two teams that are going to play no defense. So, yeah, DeJounte Murray 10-3. Now there's no Derek White. I mean, I think he looks really good at this price point. I have no issue going to him at that price. Jakob Poeltl at 7-3 has also been playing extremely well of late. He should play low 30s minutes. Keldon Johnson's more of a neutral play now. With Derek White shipped out of town, my guess is that Vassell probably starts, right? Because they've been starting McDermott. The starting lineup has been Murray, White, Keldon, McDermott, and Poeltl. So I would assume it's probably Vassell that moves into the starting lineup. And if that's the case, I think he's going to look a little bit better. I think it's a little bit more run for a guy like Lonnie Walker at 4-2. I think he's in play. We've been seeing Zach Collins be used as the backup big, and he's played well, 13, 18 minutes. So I even have a little bit of interest in a guy like Zach Collins, who I think you can go to as a contrarian GPP play. On the Atlanta side, it's basically a fully healthy team here. Trae Young, I like a good amount here for tournaments. Again, if the game can stay competitive, you could see a big game out of Trae. As far as the bigs go, I do like John Collins if we can stay out of foul trouble. We just went on a stretch where, like, even in competitive games, he's playing like 25 minutes. Well, now, 31, 34, 35. This game was in foul trouble. He only played 21 minutes. So if he stays out of foul trouble and plays 35 minutes in this spot, I think John Collins makes for a pretty good play. A little bit harder to get to Capella, who right now is just splitting time with Okongwu. So don't know if I can go there. And then, like, this grouping of value looks pretty similar to me. And like Bogdanovich, Hunter, Herter, Gallinari. I have no issue getting to those guys, but they're more secondary last piece in place. All right, Minnesota and Chicago, another team that has a lot of question marks. So last game, we did have Ant, D'Lo, and Taurean Prince and Naz Reid all questionable. They ended up playing. So right now, I'm assuming they're more on the probable side, where I think Pat Bev is more 50-50 because he actually sat out the game last game. So let's just say that Pat Beverly sits and all these questionable guys end up playing. Then I think of the big three, once again, D'Angelo Russell is going to be my preferred target because he does a lot more of the ball handling when Pat Beverly's off the court. He had 10 assists last game, so he's also the cheapest of the bunch. So D'Lo's going to look probably like my favorite of the big three. And then Cat Edwards will both be in play because Chicago really is not playing any defense right now. Vanderbilt 5-3, kind of indifferent on him. We saw McDaniels play some pretty solid minutes last game. He played 33 minutes. Again, like if he starts, you could go there. Malik Beasley at 3-8 is always a guy you can consider in tournaments, but it's very scoring dependent. Now, if everyone ends up playing, like Pat Beverly ends up playing too, I think Pat Bev makes for a very safe play that probably sees close to 30 minutes. And again, he's just doing everything for this team. He's stuffing the stat sheet, so I think he's going to make for a pretty safe play if he ends up giving it a go. On the Chicago side, so Vucevic is probable, so fully expect him to play. I think the big three all look good. DeRozan, Vooch, Levine all look good. In competitive game, we're probably going to see one of those guys have a pretty solid game. But as I always say, they always look pretty similar. So trying to pick out which ones have the really good game is a little bit difficult. So I would say they're all in play, but more for tournaments for me. Io's questionable. If he's out, I think Kobe White's going to make for a pretty safe play in the mid-range. We saw 38 minutes from him last game. So, yeah, White's going to look good. Javonte Green's a fair value of 4-6. Should play mid-30s minutes if there's no Dosunmu. And then Troy Brown would probably be a potential contrarian value play. Played 28 minutes last game. If Io's in, then I probably stay away from like the likes of like White and Green and Troy Brown. And then finally, kind of ugly late night hammer, Orlando and Utah. But I think there's some interesting pieces in the Orlando side for tournaments. So Cole Anthony, Carter Jr., I don't hate either of them for GPP. Suggs is questionable. I don't expect him to play. He left the game last game but did not return. So yeah, Cole Anthony is really going to do basically all the ball handling. He almost had a triple-double last game. So I like him for tournaments. Right? He's definitely not an optimal play, but I think he's a good tournament play. Now Carter Jr., I also mentioned for GPPs as well. These two have kind of been leading the offense. Rudy Gobert on the opposite side is questionable. Keep an eye on that. If Gobert does not play, I'm going to like Wendell Carter Jr. a good amount more. Franz Wagner kind of indifferent on him. He should play around 30 minutes, more of a neutral play. Bamba, is only seeing around 20 minutes. A little bit hard to go there. And then if Jalen Suggs can't play, my guess is that we get more run for Gary Harris and for Terrence Ross. So last game, Gary Harris played 32 minutes. Again, score independent, but I think he gets a minutes bump. And I think we get more run for Terrence Ross, who got bumped up from like 15 to 20 minutes to 29 the last game. So those two, I think, get the biggest minutes bump if Suggs can't go. Chuma Okeke at 4-1 should see, low to mid-20s minutes. I think he's a fair value play as well. All right, and then finally Utah. So Rudy Gay questionable, Rudy Gobert questionable. The Gobert news is the big one, right? Because if Gobert plays, I'm not going to like some of the Magic guys as much. Just because Gobert is such a good defender. And then, if Gobert's out, we can look to the likes of like Azubuike and Whiteside. We saw like the 7-block game from Whiteside last game. Even though Azubuike started, he didn't see as much run. So those two centers will be in play if Gobert ends up missing. But yeah, Donovan Mitchell at 8-8, I think makes for a pretty good spend up as long as the game can stay competitive. And I always said with Quinn Snyder, he's just a guy that's going to run their starters big minutes almost no matter what. So I think Mitchell makes for a pretty good play. The secondary options in Conley, Bogdanovich, and Clarkson all look pretty similar. No standouts there. Keep an eye to see if NAW is going to be available for this game. If he is, you can take a shot at him for tournaments, but don't really know exactly how much run he gets. Royce O'Neal should play big minutes, but again, is a low usage guy. So yeah, guys, that will wrap it up for the video. Again, if you have been enjoying the content, just make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate all you guys' support. Have a good night, and I will see you all in the next video.